Hey everybody, it's B Celeste. Welcome to my channel. I hope you had a blessed Thanksgiving. For me, for Thanksgiving, I actually drove home. I took a 6-hour road trip to see my family, and I had a really good time. And I don't know about you and your family, but in my family, we have at least one or more comedians, and that will be my brother Jay and my brother William. They are absolutely hilarious. I mean, both of them tell unscripted jokes as if they are competing for the cash prize at the last comic standing. It's ridiculous. They had me rolling on the floor with laughter. And don't you just love family reunions? You get to see families you haven't seen in a very long time. But anyway, enough about my road trip to Ohio. What I want to share is a few things about spousal support and how it works. And spousal support, I mean, it's still around and it's definitely part of the financial divorce proceedings. And with that in mind, I just want to take a little time to explain the basics and how it works. Now, I'm not an attorney and I'm not giving free legal advice. I actually looked this information up on the internet, and I also read a book by Jacqueline Newman. She's a managing partner of a divorce law firm, Berkman, Bottger, Newman, and Schein, LLP. What is spousal support? Spousal support is the money that one spouse post divorce will pay to the other for his or her financial support post divorce. Okay? Spousal support is different from child support in that child support relates to payments made for the purpose of supporting the children. Of course, you all know that. Spousal support is not an automatic type of payment, and not every case results in payments of this type of support. Now, as a general rule, cases that qualify for spousal support are ones where one spouse earns significantly more than the other spouse, and the low earning spouse needs to receive money from the high earner in order to get to a point where that spouse can earn enough for himself or herself to be self sufficient. Now, that may sound pretty simple, but honestly, when it comes to dealing with spousal support in a divorce negotiation or trial, it's usually quite tricky. Now, years ago, only women received spousal support, and only in situations where they did not cheat on their husbands. Let me give you a brief historical overview, and I'm talking brief. In 1979, the case of Orr versus Orr deemed it unconstitutional to award spousal support only to women. And then there was a study in 2010 that stated only 3% of 400,000 people receiving spousal support payments were men. And that was almost a decade ago. A more recent study of 1,600 matrimonial attorneys state that 45% of them have seen a rise in the number of women who are paying their husbands. Mm. The fact of the matter is, my friends, is that women are out earning their male partners. And when that union ends, they're left with the bill. Women are no longer off the hook for paying spousal support. Things are definitely changing. So let me provide a little more evidence. Mary J. Blige pays her ex-husband $30,000 a month in alimony. Now, he initially requested a whopping $130,000 in child support for his children from a previous relationship. Candace Parker, WNBA, after 8 years of marriage, she filed for a divorce from NBA player Sheldon Williams, opting to pay him a lump sum of $400,000. During her marriage to Lamar Sally, Sherry Shepard, a host and comedian, decided to have a second child via surrogate. Despite claiming she was tricked into signing surrogacy paperwork, and she highlighted the lack of genetic ties to the child, a judge ordered Shepard to pay $4,100 monthly in child support, with the amount increasing when the child turns 13. Now, in Janet Jackson's second marriage to Renee Elizondo, he filed for divorce in 2000. And despite having a prenup agreement, Renee claimed he signed it under duress and was granted $10 million plus legal fees from the singer. But Janet Jackson walked away with hundreds of millions richer from her third husband with some Almana. Wow. Let me share my spousal support experience with you all. Unfortunately, I never received it because number one, I didn't know that I should ask for it. Number two, the lawyer who represented me didn't offer any advice on spousal support and was overall incompetent. She didn't provide wise legal counsel on child support either, and it felt like she wasn't really looking out for my best interests. I was an easy paycheck to her, to be honest. And despite paying her thousands of dollars, she didn't fight hard enough for me. Now, would I recommend her? Absolutely not. Not even to my worst enemy. My advice to you all, do your research before hiring an attorney, or do your best to just settle out of court if you can. Go to mediation first. Try that. Now, let's tackle the not so fun but crucial question. How does spousal support actually work? Well, first things first, it's important to know that spousal support can vary a lot from one state to another, and sometimes even from county to county. So it's seriously important that you chat with your lawyer about the nitty-gritty details of your situation when it comes to spousal support. Even if you're in the same state, some states have set formulas, while others let the courts weigh in on a bunch of subjective factors to figure out if spousal support is due, and if yes, they determine how much. So the factors are all over the map. They can vary. It would take a whole book just to lay them out in their most basic form. But to sum it up, most courts generally consider if a person can make enough money to stand on their own 2 feet and maintain the lifestyle they had when married. If there's a clear primary caretaker for the kids, the courts might also think about whether that person gave up a career to raise them. And so this is why spousal support can sometimes feel a little bit of a gamble, because if there is a formula that's being used by the state, you have to ask your attorney if it's mandatory for the court to follow the formula or if it's suggested. It may not be a hard and fast rule because the formula does not make sense for every situation, or because the court has discretion to deviate, and they often do. But again, spousal support is ripe for litigation because you can argue against the formula not being applicable to you. Both parties are expected to complete a statement of net worth where you and your spouse will list your assets, liabilities, income, and expenses. And this is a key document in any divorce and the basis upon which a divorce settlement is often crafted. So be careful when filling this form out, as you don't want to undercut your expenses, but you don't want to inflate them too much either to the point that you lose credibility. Now, I know for many people, for many of you, this may be a difficult exercise and tedious. So in this regard, when you're first thinking about divorcing, you need to start paying attention to what you're spending. Start jotting down notes about how much cash you pay out on a day-to-day basis for everything. What I'm about to say is a recommendation and not an action that everyone can take. But consider using your credit card more often so there is a paper trail. And as you begin logging your expenses, some of the things you want to provide details on are things such as housing, which include mortgage, maintenance, rent, real estate, and taxes. It can also include insurance, condo charges, and apartment assessments. Consider your utilities: gas, electric, cable, phones, internet, and water. Food expenses, takeout, work lunches, alcohol, and also entertainment. Also, your insurance expenses such as medical and dental, car insurance, and liability, things of that nature. Unreimbursed medical, like medical, dental, optical, surgical, and nursing will also fall under this category. Consider your educational costs: preschool, primary and secondary school, religious instruction, private school. Also consider school books, supplies, and school events. Look at your automobile expenses and your recreational expenses. List your miscellaneous expenses: beauty salon, barber, spa, non-prescription drugs, books. This can also include newspapers and magazines, charitable contributions, religious organizations, tithes and offerings, okay, union dues. You can also take a look at pet pet expenses, okay, children outside of the marriage, medical expenses, also safe deposit box fees. You can also reference your credit card statements, your receipts, and any notes that you have in order to figure out these numbers. I read somewhere that it's a good idea to focus on numbers for two time periods during the marriage and then what is projected after the divorce. The reason you should is because the court will consider the expenses incurred during the marriage. Mhm. However, from a settlement standpoint, it's also important to know what you will be spending once the divorce is over. Now, you might be wondering how long will you receive spousal support, okay? Because that's like good money, right? Or could be good money potentially. But sorry, I don't have the exact answers. The court has discretion in determining the length of support, okay? What I know for certain is that spousal support typically terminates upon the death of your ex, and typically, although not mandatory, it will also terminate if the recipient is gets remarried or is cohabitating with another partner. Now, the idea behind this is that your ex pays spousal support to support you, not Pierre, the hot young guy from France you recently married, or Heather, the beautiful and sexy woman you're shacking up with. Spousal support is for you. So here are two takeaways. Number one, men and women can be awarded spousal support. Takeaway number two is that every state has a different formula in which they calculate spousal support. Make sure you consult with your attorney. That's it, and that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found this information useful. Until next time, Hakuna Matata. No worries. Take it easy, my friends. Bye for now.